Barca were heavily represented at the 2026 World Cup, but how did their players actually do? Well, let's start with their big money signing, Anthony Gordon. I thought this guy had a very interesting tournament because when the World Cup began, I did not feel like he was playing good. I remember I made a tweet in the moment jokingly trying to kind of rage bait for engagement because that's what Elon Musk has done to that app, where I was saying that Barcelona essentially paid 80 mil for the worst player on the England team. Because I remember watching their opening group games and Kane looked really good, Bellingham was back in his 2024 form, you had Saka, you had Declan Rice, and then Anthony Gordon couldn't beat his man. He couldn't create separation between him and the fullback, or basically do anything of substance to justify that feat. But as the tournament went on, I was impressed more and more, and I began to understand more and more what Barca's plan for him is. Because he had 3 games where he really stood out. The first one was against the Democratic Republic of Congo, and in that game in particular, he came off the bench. Why? Because as I told you guys, in the early England games, he did not play well. So it's not just coming from me. Thomas Tuchel saw it. He pulled him from the starting left wing position and instead put Rashford there. So against the Democratic Republic of Congo, Gordon came off the bench, but he had a huge impact. He got 2 assists, both to Harry Kane, as England escaped what would have been a terrible upset that early in the tournament, losing to a team that had just come out of being 3rd place in their group. Now, the second assist, to be fair, Harry Kane did most of the work. I mean, it was an unbelievable finish. Still a good run from Anthony Gordon to lay it off for him, but the goal was more impressive than the assist. But his first assist, that cross to Harry Kane, was beautiful.
Gordon for Kane! England relief!
And it showed kind of the difference between Gordon and Rashford when you're comparing them. Gordon has a creative side. He has this ability to create chances and make things happen for other players that Rashford simply didn't. And that's why Gordon was so much more impactful in that game off the bench than Rashford was as a starter. Then in the game against Mexico, you saw Gordon's hunger, aggression, pace, and passion for pressing. It was all of those qualities that led him to get a penalty for England, which Harry Kane converted. Because Gordon has that pace, he has that desire, he wants to win the ball back. And the entire England team showed it in that game, but Gordon in particular pressing from the front as England were down to 10 men for the bulk of the second half because of the red card from Jarell Quansah. So that's what Barca see in him, a guy that can press on the front foot, someone who's rapid, someone who's not afraid to work hard and do the dirty work. And then against Argentina, he scored England's only goal.
Rodgers' cross, Gordon coming in! Anthony Gordon!
He gave them that glimmer of hope before Messi came in and dunked his nuts all over the fish and chip lover. But I specifically want to focus on this goal against England because these are the type of goals that Flick and Deco and Barca feel Gordon can score a ton of at Barca. Just instead of Morgan Rogers crossing to him, it will be Lamine Yamal with Travella. Seriously, I can imagine so many Yamal crosses to Gordon at the back post like this and him just racking up goals and assists because that's what wingers do under Hansi Flick. No matter who you are, when you play under the German manager, you get like a steroid boost to your stats because Barca creates so many chances that you're bound to score or assist somebody. I mean, we saw that with Rashford. Nobody complained about his goals and assists when the end of the season came. And that's how you know that Barca fans actually watch football with their eyes, because if you told somebody Rashford's stats, they'd be like, why the hell do you guys not sign him permanently? But Barca fans that watch the games consistently will know the stats didn't reflect Rashford's actual individual performances. Well, Gordon, he's not like Rashford. He works very hard, he runs tirelessly, and that was obvious at the World Cup. So while I began the tournament very hesitant about why so much money was spent on a player who is not at all like the traditional wingers that you see at Barca. He's not this technically gifted winger with flair who is going to elastical pass everybody and beat multiple players at once. Sure, he can dribble and he's not a bad dribbler, but he's not that type of player. What Barca are looking at is a profile similar to Rafinha, somebody who has pace and power, who can then convert the chances that Yamal and Pedri and Olmo create into goals. Then we get to the bulk of the Barca players who played on the Spain team, the guys who became world champions. That's right, Barca fans. Any debate with Real Madrid players and you guys can tell them, hey, put your World Cup trophy on the table. Some of you are a little bit shameless when it comes to these comparisons, but I'll let it slide. The first player I want to talk about was the best Barca player of the tournament, Pau Cubarsí. He deservedly won the Young Player of the tournament, and he reminded a lot of you Barca fans who doubted him after the Chelsea performance and when he got the red card against Atletico Madrid that he's a wonderful center back. It's very difficult to play an entire season in that Hansi Flick high line and not make mistakes, especially when you're only 19 years old, and especially especially when your center back partner keeps changing. Cubarsí under Luis de la Fuente with Laporte next to him showed he is still a top quality center back. I mean, we already knew he was excellent on the ball. That was never questioned even during his lowest moments with Hansi Flick. But it's the defensive side of his game that people overlook. They thought, oh, he just plays because he's from La Masia and he's good on the ball. That's not true. He is an excellent center back. And we specifically saw it in the semifinals against France. He shut down Mbappe, Olise, Ousmane Dembele, a trio that had run riots the entire tournament before that match. There's a reason that Spain only conceded one goal in the entire tournament. Now, we do have to mention this. That one goal was De Catalare dunking on Pau Cubarsí. But it was one goal and Cubarsí made up for it by hitting the long shot that led to the Mikel Merino rebound that helped Spain beat Belgium. So he made up for it.
Cubarsí taking aim. All spilled by Lemons and buried. It's that man again.
But a wonderful performance from him and a good reminder that no, he's not just playing because he's a big name from the academy. He is a wonderful center back, and what we're watching is not normal. You're not supposed to be this good as a center back this young. It's a position where you traditionally get better with age as you mature more mentally and physically, and Cubarsí is already this good. Do not let his baby face grin fool you. He will eat up your best attacker. Then we get to the man of the moment, Ferran Torres. Not only did this guy go viral all over TikTok because of an audio of these Spanish girls fangirling all over him and thinking that he's good looking.
Dani Olmo, Lamine Yamal, oh Ferran, oh Ferran.
But he got his moment because when the tournament began, he looked like the normal Ferran. Right positioning, good movement, could not put the ball in the back of the net. But as the tournament progressed, he became Spain's X factor off the bench. He's the one who gave the assist to Merino for the goal that sent Portuguese homelander home.
Ferran Torres, we might not need extra time. It's brilliantly finished by the versatile Mikel Merino.
And then he scored the goal to send my idol, my GOAT Messi, back to Buenos Aires.
Williams and thundered in for Spain by Ferran Torres.
It was a wonderful finish. You could see it from the look on his face. Even he couldn't believe he finished it, but that's his moment. No matter what happens to him now, even if he gets sent off to PSG, he still scored the goal as a Barca player, so he deserves to be in this video. But that's his moment. No one's ever going to forget it. The same way that nobody forgets Andrés Iniesta's goal against the Netherlands at the 2010 World Cup. Ferran Torres' name is etched in football history, and yes, we will probably all mock him again when he misses in 3 months' time in a big Champions League game, but even then, you cannot take this moment away from him. And it tells you a lot about the Spain national team that all the players bought in. Ferran Torres never complained, though. I've never seen this guy ever complain about being a player that comes off the bench. He just captures his role really well, even at Barca. Then there was Dani Olmo, who, once again, just like at the 2024 Euros, played very well for Spain. He operated in that number 10 role in between the lines, his little flicks, the little turns. He's just a wonderful player to watch. At times, I think that the ball is glued to his feet. Like, if Olmo was a bigger name like Messi, they would create conspiracy theories that the sensors on the ball are programmed into his shoe because that's the only way to explain some of this guy's touches. Just a wonderfully technically gifted player. Exactly the type of guys that you associate with Football Club Barcelona. He got 2 assists in the tournament, 1 in the France game.
Porro, Olmo, Pedro Porro! It's happening for Spain!
1 in the Saudi Arabia game.
Get up, Kikare around the back. That's Dani Olmo. They're in for another one. Is in for another one.
And again, just very important to the way Spain operate, playing in between the lines, getting the ball from Rodri and getting it to Oyarzabal or the winger. He's so vital. Now that we're talking about Olmo, I want to give a brief shout out to Fermin Lopez as well. I think he would have cooked at this World Cup had he not gone injured. There was a lot of space to operate in. The way that new ball moved, a lot of keepers would parry it, and Fermin Lopez loves a long shot. So it's a shame that both Barca number 10s were not there. By number 10s, I mean playing in that role, obviously not the literal number 10. But at least Olmo was able to shine in that center attacking mid role and have another good tournament. Nobody's really doubted Olmo in terms of ability. It's just nice to see him not be injured and put together a string of good performances. Now we talk about Lamine Yamal. Now I'll be honest, him winning the World Cup was a little bit anticlimactic because just like the Euros, I thought when Spain win another big international trophy, Yamal was going to be the face of the team, the guy making things happen, multiple goals, multiple assists. That didn't happen. Now I'm not here to say that he wasn't impactful. I'm going to explain to you guys how despite only having 1 goal against Saudi Arabia, he was still one of Spain's most pivotal players. I just felt like it was anticlimactic. I thought he was going to win the World Cup and then also be the best player at the tournament. I thought that they needed Yamal to be at his best like that to win, but Spain are such a well-run team that they don't rely on any one superstar. But either way, yes, Yamal did not have a ton of goals and assists, but he is the main hub of the creativity for this national team. We saw how they look without him in the starting lineup, and that was the match against Cape Verde. They need him badly on the wing. Even with no goals, no assists, the amount of attention that he attracts just creates space for all the other players.
Lamine even if he doesn't score, even if he doesn't assist, gives us so much with his dribbling or simply with his presence as well. Because in the end, when he gets the ball, the opposing team doesn't just send one player, they send 2 or 3, and that creates space in other areas of the pitch.
Perfect example of that was the game against Belgium. I thought he played wonderfully, but there was no goal or assist on the stat sheet to prove it. You just have to watch what he was doing to the Belgium defense, how many opportunities he was creating, how many other players benefited from the attention that Yamal got. And that's very important to mention. So when I say anticlimactic, I don't mean that he had a bad tournament, especially when you have to realize that he was recovering from a pretty major hamstring injury. It's just when you looked at his club season and what he was doing for Barca, La Liga player of the season, their best player by a country mile, the performances he put on against Atletico Madrid both in the Copa del Rey and the Champions League. That's not the same guy we saw at the World Cup, but it shows you how good he is, that even when he wasn't at 100%, he was vital to Spain becoming world champion. Now, speaking of another Barca name that was a little bit underwhelming, we have to talk about Pedri. Pedri, in fact, in the business end of the competition got dropped for Fabian Ruiz, and it was the right decision from De La Fuente because Pedri had not looked good, and to be honest with you, he hadn't looked good for a few months now, even towards the last games of the season at Barca. I don't know if it's fatigue, I don't know if there's some external factors bothering him, but this isn't the same Pedri that we saw before. But at least in the final, he really stepped up for Spain. As soon as he came on as a sub, he gave the Spanish more control of the midfield. And yes, dropping him for Fabian Ruiz was the right decision for the team as a whole, but in that final, Pedri showed why he's still so valuable to any team, even if he's not at 100%. He was still conducting the play, finding space in between the lines, and at the end of the day, he's a world champion. So we can say whatever we want. Yes, it wasn't the best version of Pedri, but I think Pedri would rather see a 60%, 70% version of him and a trophy in his hand than the best version of him and going trophyless. But again, it tells you how good Spain are, that some of these bigger names were underwhelming by their standards, and yet they still won everything. Now we move away from the Spanish players and we go to Jules Koundé. Now Koundé, funny enough, actually played well for France. Why do I say it's funny? Is because he was awful for Barca all season. I thought maybe this guy needed a rest, that there was mental fatigue, because in my video on what the hell happened to Koundé, I talked about how this guy has a pattern of following a really good season with a really underwhelming season. Like in 2024, 2025, he was one of the best right backs in the world. He scored the winner in the Copa del Rey.
Koundé onto it to maybe win the Copa del Rey. Koundé with a killer effort.
And then the season after, he sucked. The same thing happened 2 years prior. In the 2022-2023 season, he was 1/4 of the best backline in La Liga, one of the best backlines in Europe. Then the next season, he was a liability. So going by his normal pattern, he should be back to being a good right back again in the 2026-2027 season, but only time will tell. But at least for France, he had some really good performances. He was excellent in that game against Paraguay, which ended up being more of a wrestling match than football. The South American sides are crazy. And he also did really well against Senegal. Again, he wasn't the best right back in the tournament by any means, but if you watched the 3rd place, 4th place game, you would see that Malo Gusto was a massive downgrade to him. So as much as we've rightfully criticized Koundé, at least at the World Cup he was good, and maybe he can carry that momentum into the new season. Now Rafinha's World Cup campaign was unfortunately very disappointing. I think many Barca fans were excited to see what he was going to do with Brazil, playing under Carlo Ancelotti, but once again this poor guy got injured. And now enough injuries have happened where there should be some concerns from Barca about what this guy's future looks like. There were rumors about him being sold to Saudi Arabia, and I don't think it's that big of an issue to cash out on him. Not because of his abilities, but rather because we don't know if these injuries are going to keep happening. The way Rafinha plays, it takes a huge toll on you physically. I think there was a stat out, I'm going to find it after this video, or have my wonderful editor get it, where it showed that Rafinha was at the very top when it came to sprints per game. And that's how he's always played, with pace, with power, direct, trying to get him behind. And it's wonderful. He's one of Barcelona's most important players. He's the heart of the club. But if this guy's body is going to keep breaking down quarterly, it might be time to cash out on him at his peak. Because one of the reasons that Barca struggled in the 2025-2026 season is because this guy got injured in a meaningless friendly game. And he's so vital to the way the team plays, Barca can't afford to have him injured in the business end of the season. There's nobody else on the left wing that has his output, his running, his pressing. So Barca have to look at this situation from an asset perspective, not from an emotional perspective. Because they can sell him, get good money, free him of the wages before this guy becomes a shadow of himself purely because of injuries. Again, I have to repeat, it's because of injuries that I'm even posing this question. In terms of abilities, we saw even in the 2025-2026 season when he was healthy, he's a monster. He's custom built for this Hansi Flick system. So he will always look like an unbelievable player, better than you could ever imagine in Flick's Barca system. Then there's Joao Cancelo, who unfortunately probably nobody paid attention to because all the talk around Portugal was around Cristiano Ronaldo and them going home, but he looked good. Barca converted his loan move into a permanent deal, and I think he was vital to Barca when he came in January. Whether he was playing at left back or right back, he offers a attacking quality that none of the other Barcelona fullbacks attack. Jules Koundé can't do it, Balde can't do it, so Cancelo is very important. Obviously, he has some glaring weaknesses. We saw that at the World Cup. This guy's always going to leave a winger unmarked. He's always going to be a defensive liability at some point. But he also showed at the tournament what makes him so valuable in that he's excellent going forward. Not just in terms of crosses, but the dribbling, how good he is at carrying the ball. Like, this guy's good enough on the ball where he could genuinely play as a winger, not just as a fullback. So I think he's a very important profile to have in the Barca squad because there's nobody else like him. Then there was Frenkie de Jong, who I actually thought had a very good individual World Cup campaign. I thought him and Gravenberch did an excellent job in that double pivot. And to be fair, the Dutch were having a good World Cup. They started out kind of slow, tying Japan, but they had big wins over Sweden and Tunisia, and they topped their group. It's just they were unfortunate where they had to play Morocco in the round of 32. I mean, imagine topping your group, being number one, and then you have to play one of the best second place teams in the entire tournament. And they ended up only losing on pen. The bigger issue with Frenkie de Jong, though, is that he injured himself at the World Cup, and he's going to be out for a while. So in the beginning of the season, Pedri is going to be by himself again, and that's a bit of a problem because the two of them work so well together. When one of them is gone, the balance is off. So it's a shame because I thought de Jong was doing really good for the Dutch, orchestrating the midfield, showing all of his best qualities when it comes to carrying the ball, reading passing lanes. But now Barca are going to have to start the season without him. There was also Hamza Abdelkarim. He was a part of the Egypt squad that made history, making it all the way to the round of 16, narrowly losing to Argentina. Yes, it was a controversial game. People are still weeping about some of the calls there, but realistically, Egypt only have themselves to blame. But this isn't what that video is about. What I liked about Abdelkarim is that he has a lot of great qualities. He's still a very raw prospect. He has to be developed much further. He needs game time, but he does have the qualities where if he's developed properly, he could become a really good striker, a really good number 9. The real question is, do Barca have the patience to do that? Are they going to send him out on loan, or do they think they can develop him in training with the rest of the guys? Because remember, a lot of these same things were said about Vitor Roque, and that guy was sent packing back to Brazil. So we'll have to see what Abdelkarim does. But from the clips that I've seen from him at the youth level and some moments here and there at the World Cup, the qualities are there. Only time will tell if those qualities can be transformed into a real number 9 that can help the first team. And then Araujo didn't play, and maybe it's a good thing. Uruguay looked awful. I think it's so funny that people were so adamant on hating Argentina and the easy path they had to the World Cup that Uruguay got basically zero level of criticism for getting third in a group that they were supposed to get out of very easily. Like, Cape Verde beat them in terms of making it out of the group. Obviously they tied, but everybody had that group being Spain, Uruguay, and then some combination of Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia. But Uruguay did nothing, well, besides getting players sent off against Spain. I don't know what it is with these South American teams. They just always lose their cool. Whether it's Uruguay, whether it's Argentina, whether it's Paraguay, they wear their emotions on a sleeve. Now lastly, the last player I want to talk about, he will always be an honorary Barca player, and that's Lionel Messi. And it was so wonderful to see him in a final against the current Barca guys, because that final was La Masia made. That was Barcelona, seeing Barca's greatest ever player with their upcoming greatest ever youngster. So if there was anyone Messi was going to lose to, I'm glad it was the Barca guys. And I told people this because there were people in the comment section clowning me for Messi losing, and I'm like, I won as soon as the semifinals were done. Now I can talk about how Yamal has surpassed Homelander's international legacy. I could say that Pedri has a better international legacy than Cristiano Ronaldo. So I don't know why people thought that I was going to be upset. It was the best final for me. Messi versus Barca, a club that I glaze all the time on this channel. But yeah, Messi had a wonderful tournament. They tried to run a smear campaign on him, created these fake quotes, fake narratives, AI generated videos to discredit everything he's done. When the reality is that we should have appreciated a 39-year-old getting 8 goals and 4 assists and literally carrying a subpar old beaten up Argentina team all the way to the final. Unfortunately, that's not the appreciation he got. All the fake news got to the LARPers, the casual fans, the guys that were only watching the World Cup for the first time, and they're all sheep. They believe everything they see. But I think the real Barca fans appreciated that one last dance for Messi. The guy was already a world champion, and he came out, and I was like playing with house money. He gave us some wonderful memories from the hat-trick against Algeria.
Leo Messi! Big deflection! Got it home! That's 2 for Messi! Messi! His first World Cup hat-trick!
To the wonderful late goal against Egypt.
Lautaro sent it across. It's swept in! And of course it's Lionel Messi!
To the 2 assists against England.
Messi gets into the penalty area. Oh! This one's on target. This one's an absolute beauty. Messi. Oh, and England are in trouble. And maybe through Lautaro Martinez.
What a performance from Leo Messi. I think he was absolutely robbed of the golden ball. He was by far and away the best player of the tournament. Not saying Rodri had a bad tournament, but it's very different being a good player on the best team versus being an alien on a team that had no business being in that final. But I thought he deserved a mention because Lionel Messi is Mr. Barcelona. If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you will love this one too. Check it out right here.